Welcome back. This is an update for my main healing video. Since we've been running trials, I've had to really adapt the way that I heal. And I've had to take advantage of new skills, and I just wanted to take you through those, show you the rotations that I use and why I use it that way. And also to give you an idea of something I've got in mind for a 2 healer setup when we do trials. So let me take you through the skills and show you what's changed. Largely the stats haven't changed, and that's what they look like at the moment. Okay, so he's fairly robust and he's got good magicka regen. That's the 2 things to note. Okay, the skills. On the front bar, this is the primary healing bar, healing springs. The reason I use this is that it's an area of effect, as you can see, 8 meters. It's an instant cast, which is amazing for healing. It's what you want. When I hit our friendly targets with it, I get magicka back. So it's a brilliant way to maintain resources for me. So that's number one. Also, I can cast it remotely. It's got a 28 meter range, which is really significant and really handy. Mutagen, standard. I'll make sure everyone's got a mutagen on them as we run into battle. As the guys take sudden damage, they are immediately healed for 4048 health if they drop below 20%, which happens a lot. Channeled focus gives me great resistances and gives me 240 magicka back a second. Amazing. On the trials, the heavy AoE damage we take is pretty important. Okay, the second significant change is something called Hasty Prayer, which I'm still leveling up, as you can see. Hasty Prayer is a morph from the healing ritual skill in the Templar's Restoring Light tree. Now, I haven't had a great deal of success with heal over times. Beg your pardon, with long cast area of effect heals. Simply because when you're, as you've seen the footage from the last one, you're in a dungeon, everything's going hunky-dory, suddenly a boss does a massive attack, or there's flame damage or dot damage, poison damage, and everyone's health plummets. You've got 10 people, potentially 11 people in front of you whose healths have just dropped. As you can see on Hasty Prayer, it's got a 1.5 second cast time, which is far too long. But this does have a place. It does have a place. Let me explain. I'll show you the rotations in a second. Standard Breath of Life, of course, and Practiced Incantation. I have this on both bars. In my opinion, I just can't afford to run without this. Especially in trials, sometimes I'm the only healer. When I have a second healer, it's much more gentle. It works a lot better. Okay, the back bar, Ritual of Retribution. So it's a wide area, it heals and it lightly damages and it cleanses. And it's got a great synergy for the guys to cleanse. Combat Prayer, again fairly standard, 20 by 8 meter area effect. Gives the DPS a great boost. Luminous Shards, which is good for magicka and stamina regen, whichever's higher in the person. So that's good for all of our guys really. For Siphon, puts a little lifesteal buff on the or rather debuff, I suppose it is, on the boss, and we can siphon health from it as long as we're damaging, so great. Breath of Life, need it on the back bar as well, because I never know I'm going to need it. And practiced incantation on the back bar, of course. So that is my 2 bars. Okay, right, now let me explain the rotations. Okay, let me take you through the skill rotation. One thing you might have noticed is that I've dropped Sanguine Altar from this build. Why, you might be asking? It's a great skill, you know, you put it down and we all damage the boss, blah blah. Yeah, it is, but when we're looking at some of the dungeons and some of the trials that we're going in now, we have 12 people running around. We have ads everywhere. 8 meters just doesn't cut it. It doesn't cut it. It's okay if we're on a boss, you know, if it's predictable and all the rest of it, but as you can see by some of the videos that we've produced in the past from trials, it's just absolutely, it's chaos. It's just a melee of bodies running all over the place. There is no way on God's clean earth that you'll get a Sanguine Altar to be effective unless it's just a pure boss fight, and I can't give up a skill slot just for that. So I'm going to reserve that for vet dungeons and anything else that we do. Okay, let me take you through the rotations that I use then. So as we run in, obviously the tank goes in, we start the fight on the trials, standard stuff, everyone gets a mutagen. If I need to, I set myself up in channel focus. Now then, healing springs. This is what it looks like. I can aim it, okay? So I can aim healing springs over the guys. It's an instant cast, works very well. Gives me fantastic amount of healing. Look at my regen at the moment. I'm not in combat, so my regen is not anywhere near as good, but I can just keep this going. I can keep spamming it over the boss where our guys are. I can aim it. You need a top up over there, one over there, one over here. It's so incredibly useful. Keep up the mutagens and channel focus. Right, okay, now then, it's not a particularly massive heal, but it does do a heal over time effect, so it is actually really useful. Right, hasty prayer. This is the advantage of hasty prayer. Sometimes we'll have a group over here, sometimes we'll have the tank on the boss over there, we'll have ads over here. We have AoE on the ground. What I'll do is I'll initially give people heal over time, then I'm going to run through this. Now they're all being healed, I'm going to run through the group, moving around. I'm doing hasty prayer. This thing has a large area, as you can see, and it heals everyone that's inside the area, inside the fight. Okay, because it's a 1.5 second cast time, it's actually not that brutal on my magicka, bearing in mind that I'm not in combat at the moment either. Let me get into combat. I can show you. Mutagen, I'll have channel focus down. Okay, I'm now going to start running around. Okay, so I'm in combat, so as you can see, I can run around and I can maintain my regen whilst healing everybody. When the fight is stabilised, I can re-establish myself, tactically get on the end of the fight so that I can see everyone in a 180 degree cone in front of me, just in case I need to use Breath of Life. Okay, mutagen on everyone. Okay, healing springs for those that need it. Heavy damage phase. I'm going to run around, I'm going to spam this skill until we're all stable again. Channel focus, mutagen, heavy attack, standard stuff. Now this new skill set lets me heal large numbers of people very efficiently. We did a trial recently where I managed to be the only healer, basically, keep everyone up. People did help me out, of course, by running Vigor, and I think one of our guys even had Breath of Life on his bar as well, which helped a little bit as well. But considering it was one healer, it wasn't that bad. Okay, so this is what it looks like basically, and of course I've got my ultimate, which is ready now, practiced incantation, which gives everyone something like 6,000 health, 1 second, so every second for 6 seconds. Now that's not only useful because of the ridiculous amounts of heals that it actually does, it also means that for 6 seconds I'm not using any skills. So I've got high magicka regen, nearly 3,000. So my regen, my magicka regen happens, I almost get a full bar back. Top it up with one heavy attack and I'm good. I can just start the whole thing again. Okay, so really the keys to this is hasty prayer and healing springs, and the rest of it is fairly standard. Okay, so that's my primary rotation for trials, which seems to work very well indeed. And again, don't forget that this is not a definitive setup. This isn't what you have to do. It just seems to work very well for me, and I've had great success with it, and the guys seem to love it as well. Okay, the idea being for this second healer, or the buff healer or support healer, whatever you want to call them, is that when we're underway and we're in a battle, there are things that I don't have time to do if I'm the primary healer. What I'd like the secondary healer to do is to maybe adopt some of the skills that are on my back bar, which I've already shown you. So that would be things like Retribution, Combat Prayer, Luminous Shards, Force Siphon, and have Breath of Life for backup, and of course Practiced Incantation. We could even do a second Warhorn, but this is actually very, very useful for regular heavy damage phases, such as we faced recently in Ethereal Archive. We actually staggered letting this ultimate off between us each damage phase, and it worked so well. The synergy was perfect. Okay, so this is the sort of thing I'd like the second healer to do. I'm right behind the tank. I position myself tactically to make sure that I can cover the whole field. Okay, now what I'd really quite like to do is, one use of the secondary healer would be to say, okay, you heal the tank who's with the boss here, and the rest of the fight is spread out all the way across here, so let's split up. You do the tank, I'll keep the guys up with my area heals. Okay, that's one thing. The second thing that I'd really like to see is the second healer's got a little bit more time on their hands, a little bit more of a relaxed job. What I'd like them to do is maybe to run Retribution, Combat Prayer, so that's precisely targeted. So you position yourself tactically to get down as many DPS as you can. It's cheap, as you can see. Refresh Retribution, throw in shards. What I'd also like for them to do is to run Force Siphon. Okay, so this means that everyone in a large area is getting a slow heal over time, a nice tick. They can also operate the synergy, which is like a cleansing synergy. Okay, they're getting more damage because we're laying in Combat Prayer over all the DPS, especially on the aggressive Warhorn phases. Okay, the field is soaked in Combat Prayer, which gives everyone an 8% damage boost for 8 seconds. Shards, which cause damage over time. Okay, Retribution causes damage over time and healing. The second healer would be adding to the DPS in many ways. He'd also, or she would also, be helping me by putting Force Siphon on the boss. Everyone, or the large dangerous mobs, or as many mobs as they can get. In other words, everyone that attacks them gets health back. It is simply stunning, and it lasts for something like 17 seconds, or is it 14 seconds? It's a long period of time. Shards, Retribution, and when they can see that it's a bit of a problem and everyone's taking damage, Breath of Life, and of course we have a staggered phased intervention with the ultimate skill, of course, okay, with Practiced Incantation. Now this, I feel, would add to the DPS of the group. It would certainly add to the utility of the group. It would add to the safety, meaning there's less strain on the healer, less strain on the tank, and the DPS stay up more and they don't have to fight quite as long because we're giving them extra damage. It's just a complete win-win situation. So that is what I'd really like to happen for our second healer. So if we have any willing volunteers to be the support healer, please let me know. And that's the end of this video. Thank you very much indeed. Hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any questions at all, please contact me in game. Lance-Sterling on the UK server ESO, Knights of Hercine Guild. Many thanks, and I'll see you next time.